Gold just keeps hitting high after high after high after high. And that's just reason number one why $3,000 gold is better than silver at $34. Let's talk about it as we explore. And I'm not anti-silver. In fact, $34 silver is great. But for the purpose of this video, and the reason why there's more gold on the screen here than there is silver is because of a decision I made back in 2017 to make a notable shift to gold more than silver. I was convinced then, as I am now more than ever, that for me personally, and why I think for everyone out there, it is good to have some gold in your portfolio if you're a silver stacker. However, there are reasonable people who will disagree, including Silver Heist, who is posting a video in collaboration with me as to why silver is better at $34 than gold at $3,000. So I'm going to link to his video down below and at the end screen of this video so that you can see the counter argument to this. By the way, I want to thank Summit Metals for sponsoring this channel. Check them out next time you're in need of gold or silver, and just cost compare. See if they have the lowest price for what you're looking for. SummitMetals.com. So that's reason number one. Gold has keep hitting high after high after high. It's not as high as a kite because it's a very heavy, dense metal. It would definitely fall to the ground if it was tied to a string. No question about that. But its price keeps going up. And some people say, well, that means it's going to just implode. It's going to fall right back down to earth. But what makes this different than its all-time high in 1980? And yes, I'm ignoring 2011 here because even though 2011, like 1980, those were anomalies. This time it's different. Yeah, you've heard that phrase many times, but for gold, that is indeed the case because it just keeps knocking out these all-time highs. It's shooting up like a rocket now. And if we go back to what happened in 1980, the anomaly, because it was only during 1 month of that year that we saw it hit $850 an ounce, was the all-time high for this illustrious precious metal, and that was just 9 years after Richard Milhouse Nixon took us off the gold standard completely. He closed that window, but the window since then has been open for the natural market to take over, and gold's price soaring here in 2025. And that is $850 then. Adjusted for inflation, now that would mean $3,486 per ounce for gold. And even though there's a lot of forces that are behind gold's price rising, including and mainly central banks accumulating gold because of geopolitical tensions and pressures, we are not only a couple $100 away, about $486 away from gold reaching an all-time high adjusted for inflation. The loss of value of these debt instruments known as Federal Reserve notes, because they keep printing them, because the government keeps spending our money and taxing us through inflation. And so that's what the number would have to be, and we're just a few $100 away from that now. On a percentage basis, silver is nowhere near there yet. In fact, it's very volatile in terms of its price performance. Does not mean you cannot preserve your wealth with silver, though. And we'll let Silver Heist talk about that. But if you're familiar with this channel, you know that that is the case, as I have demonstrated in the past with silver. However, on its all-time high in 1980, it was $50 an ounce, a number we saw again in 2011. But $50 in 2011 is very different than at $50 in 2000 or in 1980. And it's also very different than $50 in 2025. And silver is sitting at $34 an ounce. So, adjusted for inflation, silver would have to get to $205.07, according to the CPI inflation calculator, in order for silver to reach its all-time high. And of course, there's a lot of natural market forces and other things that are contributing to silver's price increasing over the past year. Silver's done very well. $34 is not bad for silver. However, gold is on fire, and it has surpassed the S&P 500, and it has done very well as a hedge against inflation and a store of value, and then some. That's right. We're enjoying the benefits of gold really reacting sort of like an investment, dare I say it. Yes, indeed. That's pretty remarkable to see gold make that climb as much as it has in the past year and even beyond. Gold just keeps on going. Now, usually when something shoots up like a rocket ship like gold has, it's got to come back down the other direction, right? And even if it does, it's not going to go to zero. We know that for sure. But what else is it not going to do? Is it's not going to fall below the levels of inflation, I don't think. Even if we saw it lose a couple $100, that's still a very high price for gold. Even if it goes down $1,000 from where it is right now, that's $2,000 gold. That's really good, especially compared to where it was not that long ago. $2,000 gold is great, but $3,000 gold is even better. And that's why I believe that really gold was the right choice for me to make a notable direction in 2017. And I'm not buying quite as much this year because the price is so high. I don't know where it's going to stop. But even if it was to take a marked turn to the downward direction, it's still going to do very well. Silver, on the other hand, could drop back down into the high 20s. I think there's a strong support for silver, a floor, if you will, for silver's price. Where that will go, I don't know. But likely it's not going to fall below $20 an ounce. But that drop between where it is now at $34, near $34, and in the other direction is something that, would be much more dramatic of a fall than for gold. That's right. Silver's volatility kind of works against it. And it means that you have to be a little bit more strategic, maybe even a lot more strategic, in order to preserve your wealth with silver. Dollar cost averaging is the way. I strongly feel that. Even if you do it straight up dollar cost averaging, it's fine for silver, and you will do okay with that. You can enhance it a bit by buying a little bit more when the prices drop a little bit, buy on the dip, they say, and you may not even feel good buying at all when the prices are high or spike dramatically. And that works its way for gold as well. But I think there's a little bit more cushion with gold in that regard, especially considering that you can buy fractional versions of it for relatively inexpensively above spot price these days, because the spot price essentially is swallowing up the premiums. And with dealers hedging, they essentially can afford to sell you gold for a much lower premium than they can silver. So that's another argument in the direction for holding gold, and why I think it's better than silver at this price point. Now, notwithstanding, in terms of buying gold at this price and in terms of buying silver at this price, they come out about equal, I think. Although I think you stand to lose a little bit less if you were to buy gold than silver right now. However, there is an opposite argument to that. I'll let Silver Heist make it, because there is some potential with silver based off of the headroom that we see. But that's all I'll say about that. I'll let him discuss if that's going to be one of his arguments for silver being better than gold at $34 than and with the gold sitting at $3,000 per ounce. Now, you can't lose with either metal in the long run, but it takes time and patience. And it turns out for me, it's paid off in terms of gold. But I've bought gold at $3,000 an ounce as well. This is the most recent example. And so, there are ways where it becomes a little bit risky as you move on up. But I'm buying less. But also, you have to understand your own situation and your own understanding of the markets and where things lie. But gold and silver, both are great metals. There's really no competition between either of them, because they are money in terms of what the Constitution says. Article 1, Section 10. So there's no really competition in them in a sense, although we are comparing, and both Silver Heist and I are making this comparison here, really as a thought exercise for you all to understand. I believe both of us will come out in the end and with the same conclusion overall, and that is to have both gold and silver in your stack, in your acquisition, because they're both great. And they both have served, in a way, different purposes. They've expanded. Gold is treasured. And that's another reason why I think it is less volatile than silver. Silver essentially is consumed. There's a lot more working against it in the industrial sector and in terms of supply-demand fundamentals that can be tweaked based off of the use case, as there are 10,000 uses for silver, much less for gold. Gold is stored by central banks around the world. And so, therefore, understanding that and the dynamics involved with it is something that, I have taken to the bank, literally, the central bank, that is. I am my own central bank, and there's something empowering about that, as since April of 2019, gold was upgraded from a Tier 3 asset to a Tier 1 asset. What does that mean? That means that gold, unlike silver, which does not have that designation, by the Central Bank of Central Bankers, has delegated gold to be on par and equal with cash. That means the dollar. That's a very powerful thing, folks, because the dollar is the dominant currency around the world. No matter what they say, even though there is this de-dollarization that has been happening and continuing to this very day, the dollar still dominates. This is why the strength of the dollar has been so high, and why gold has been bucking the trend of the dollar index and continuing to rise in price. No matter what the Fed does or says, it is still breaking records, and it's continuing to do it on a consistent basis. Could that trend change? Yes, it could, but so far it hasn't. So that's why gold is better at $3,000 an ounce than silver at $34 an ounce. If you want to see the other side and hear the argument, I encourage you to check out Silver Heist and his video, why $34 silver is better than gold at $3,000 an ounce. With that, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.